Welcome back to the More Than Just a Yoga Teacher podcast. My name is Heather Petrosky, and I am your host. And we talk about all things that involve making money, building your yoga business, and making a massive impact because you are so much more than just a yoga teacher. Okay, my darlings, I'm going to say something that is going to piss some of y'all off, but you know that I'm okay with that. Okay. One of the biggest things that I hear with it's not even, I wish I could say that it was new yoga teachers, but it's not. It's teachers that have been teaching for a little while, is that they have some version of imposter syndrome. And I think that there's a lot of like very, very generic advice out there about this kind of stuff and some like very practical advice as well. Like, don't get me wrong, like teach more. That'll absolutely help. Like I think a lot of times if you've been teaching for 5 years or 2 years and you only teach once a week, like, yeah, that might not be enough reps in the game to like have you feeling really rock solid about being a teacher. But I want to dive deeper. I want to talk more about the reason that I think a lot of people experience this because it is a pattern that I see that teachers have in as they even like start to grow and as they start to elevate and as they start to open their own business or offer things outside of group classes, like this whole imposter syndrome thing. And listen, I think it's baked into women as a whole, and it's not necessarily a bad thing because I think it makes us show up and deliver really, really well. But I think, particularly in the yoga industry, the way that we do things bakes this shit into us. And I think that it deserves to be talked about. Okay. Because if you don't nip some of this shit in the butt in the beginning, it'll like eat you alive, you know? And not only will it eat you alive, but it'll show up in every version of what you try to do within your yoga teaching career. Okay. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So I want you to think about whether it happened a million years ago or you just graduated from teacher training, but I want you to think about how they taught you. And a lot of times, especially in the beginning, we are taught to copy people, right? You're copying your teacher's cues. You idolize your mentors. You idolize your teacher. You worship the guru at the front of the room. Like there isn't a whole lot of culture around critically thinking for yourself, right? When I teach in yoga teacher training, I give a system for students to develop their own cues, like based on a few trauma informed principles and a few ways that it has been proven that language lands in human bodies better and that kind of stuff. So there's like a system that needs to be followed in order for your cueing to be effective, but you need to like kind of come up with your cues using that system. But I cannot tell you how many times I will hear a cue from a student or from a teacher and I'll be like, "Oh, like where did you hear that cue?" And they'll be like, "Oh, I heard someone else say it." And so you just copy, right? Like so many teachers become little parrot versions or they're just parroting their teacher. And dude, I get it. Every single thing I fucking talk about, I've done, right? Like I have heard cues that I've loved. I have borrowed, stolen, whatever you want to call it, right? Like copied my teacher. I still remember like very specific cues that my teacher says that will stick in my head forever, you know? And like in the beginning, that is absolutely how we have to learn. But you need to develop a better system than that as you move forward after you like finish teacher training or maybe while you're even in teacher training of how you teach, or you will not fully feel like your teaching is yours, right? You know, there's so much tradition and there's so much beauty built into this practice, but there has to be a way, and there is, trust me, for you to do things in your way while still honoring all of that in order for this to feel really fucking good for you. Okay. So the other thing that you see is students not only like parroting or copying what they're seeing or like what they see on Instagram, whether it's like steal my sequence or this or that, but like you see so many teachers when they start teaching, they literally sound like a completely different version of themselves. Like I always say, like, take off your yoga teacher meat suit. Like, why people just literally start talking differently. They don't speak in full sentences. They use weird yoga jargon. They speak in a way that is not all, it's like just not, it's, I want to say like it's not authentic to them, but it's like literally just not how they talk in real life. Right. So, and the reason why I'm like calling these things out is because like if you are just copying other teachers' cues or you're steal that sequence and you're stealing the sequence, like yes, you want to get inspiration and you want like to have a fire lit under you and maybe that's how you do it. But if you're experiencing these things, or this is how you're learning and this is how you're moving forward, you're always gonna have imposter syndrome, because what you're actually teaching isn't yours. It's and I'm not saying like there isn't some level of all of us copying each other, because there definitely is. But you have to figure out how to, and this is key, okay? Figure out how to show up as exactly the same person you are everywhere. And that means how you are in real life is how you should be as a teacher. How you are in real life and as a teacher is how you should show up on the internet. That is the goal. You should be the same person every single place that somebody can find you. Okay. That not only is good business, but that's how, like, when people say, like, find your authenticity, find your voice. Like, I'm not going to lie, I cannot stand that shit. When people are like, oh, you still have to find your voice as a yoga teacher, or it takes a really long time to find your voice. Fuck that, my friends. That is the biggest load of crap. You just have to learn how to teach so that you actually sound like you. That's it. And when we start to teach, we're nervous and there's all this other stuff coming up. And so you do weird things, right? Like, and that's exactly what happens when you show up on a camera on social media. You become like a different version of yourself. It's actually quite normal. And so the game is, okay, is actually unlearning this weird stuff that comes up, whatever your stuff is, so that you can continue to be the same version of you everywhere you go. Now, like, connect the dots here. If you have spent years copying other people's cues and sequences and their language, and like scrolling the internet when you're trying to think about what to post, and you're just copying what other people post, of course you're going to feel either like a fraud, or like, imposter syndrome, because you haven't actually like really fucking gone all the way in and taken the full risk of building something that is yours, right? The imposter syndrome, that's a feeling in your body telling you that you're wearing someone else's clothes, like, and there's a difference, okay? There is a difference when you are in the beginning and you are putting in the reps. So there is feeling uncomfortable doing a new thing and like figuring out how to do that skill, and imposter syndrome, okay? Those are two different feelings that I'm talking about, all right? Okay, so here's the thing. Ready? This isn't your fault. Straight up. Like, it's not. It feels really structural to me. It's really rooted in some of what the problems are in the yoga industry. And it's really also the same reason that I think so many yoga teachers are struggling. Okay. The yoga industry rewards copying and punishes original thinking. Like, think about it. Okay. The whole marketing plan for so many people is about like being likable, and yoga is for everybody. It's for all bodies. And yes, that is beautiful. Take those concepts and put them into the real world, like you as a human being. Oh, that's perfect. Do you think that it is appropriate in your life for everybody to like you and for you to be for everybody? No, your therapist would literally tell you you were a people pleaser, right? Like, that is what would go down. And that's like what we do in the yoga industry. And what happens is we actually serve less people because of that. We do. Because you are not for everybody. Not everybody is supposed to like you. When we think about that as like a human, we're like, oh yeah, that makes sense. So then why would it make sense in the yoga industry? Not every class is for everybody. It is not. And that is 100% true. And you are lying to yourself if you think that it is true. Like, if we did a better job about being really specific about the different kinds of classes so that people could opt into what was actually going to be helpful for them, rather than you just having a bunch of classes that are for all levels for everybody, I bet you your classes would be more full, period. So here's what happens. Like, I think yoga teachers, at some point, a lot of people, like, they kind of realize this, right? They understand that they have imposter syndrome. They don't feel good enough, et cetera, et cetera. And then the solution that we have provided up until this point is for you to go get more certifications, right? Because if you have more education, then you'll feel better about yourself. Well, here's the deal. You actually just now have more things that you have learned about that you don't feel like you know enough about, right? Now, all you've done is add more things to your plate that you are not a master of, right? So you go sign up for more trainings, you get more certifications, you put more hours behind your name of like hours of training that you have. And that is the literal trap that is keeping yoga teachers feeling like fakes and feeling fucking broke. Okay. Like this system has to shift. I mean, I could go obviously on and on for long periods of time about like things that really like are embedded in the yoga industry that we've been doing the same way for years and years that like are not working. They're not working. Okay. So the fix is not more certifications. So the fix is literally, it is, so the fix, it is not more certifications. It is not more hours behind your name. It is not another weekend training. The fix for you to feel better and to like not have that feeling of imposter syndrome, I swear to God, it is unlearning. It is unlearning. And it is everything you need to not feel like an imposter is literally already inside you. It is getting back to your actual voice, not finding your voice because it was never lost. Okay. It is owning the voice that you have right now, your values, what you give a fuck about, and then figuring out how to show up as that exact person when you are teaching your classes or offering your workshops or whatever you do. So I can't help but think about my one client. We were working on like a landing page for her new student offer. She owns a studio and she put a new student offer. We were building out what that was going to look like. And that was going on a landing page, which is a page on your website that just offers one single thing, which was her new offer. And I told her, like, send me over your copy, which is like the words that go on the page, so I can take a look at it. So she did like a draft of the landing page, sent it over to me. And I looked at it and I'm not gonna lie, I asked her, like, did AI write this? Because it didn't sound a single fucking thing like she actually talks. Right. And it was very polished and very professional and all of those things, but it didn't sound like her. It didn't actually sound like her. So here's why that's problematic. Okay. Because if you want to sound and show up like the same person everywhere you go, and you're a studio owner and your website sounds like a fucking robot wrote it, and you have a completely different experience when you come into the studio, like there's a disconnect, there's a break in trust, right? You need to learn how to write like you actually sound. And AI is, oh God, don't get me started. This is going to be a whole different podcast. But so we rewrote it in her own words, and not in her own words, like as if she was trying to professionally write something. And there are like tips and tricks for you to figure out how to do this. This is like what we do inside of my containers. And I give you systems to do that that are super simple and easy to follow. But like we rewrote it in a way that actually sounds like her, right? She had 15 people sign up for that offer in just the first month. Okay. And she's like a tiny studio. So not only was it 20 times better when she rewrote it in her own language and got like a ton of sales from it, but she felt better about it, right? Because it actually sounded like her. It felt authentic to her voice. It felt like the website sounded like what she was going to sound like when she actually taught her classes. And that is how you build trust with your customers as well. Like it is so very, very, very important. When you put a bunch of shit out there, whether it's what you say in your classes, whether it's what you post on social media, whether it's what's on your website, and there is a disconnect between like how it sounds and how it feels versus like how you actually are in real life, people feel that too. Okay. So the whole game is like coming back to you, baby, coming back to who you are. Like being really clear about your foundation and like what you believe in. That is how you know what your voice is. Like if you don't know what you stand for and what you believe in and what's fucking important to you, then well, then you have a whole nother problem. But that's like when you flush out those things, that's your voice. Okay. And it doesn't take time to develop that. That is always inside of you. Here's the thing, my darlings. You cannot unlearn a lot of this stuff on your own because there's a whole system built around it, right? Like, and there's a lot of hard things about being a business owner, but this stuff, this like stuff that is just such at the guttural, like foundational level of you unlearning things to come back to you, to like be so solid in your foundation and your identity that like you can move forward with so much certainty and so much fucking grace. Like that is the hard work that must happen in the beginning, right? That is the entire reason that coaching and community exist. You need people who tell you when you're hiding behind your yoga voice when you're teaching, and you need people that tell you that you're hiding behind your limiting beliefs that are keeping you stuck when you are in the process of scaling and growing a business. And that is literally what we do inside of the Business of Yoga Mastermind. So if you are done feeling all of these fraud, gross, imposter, whatever feelings in your business, know that it is very common and you are not alone, but it's time to unlearn. It's time to grow. It's time to fucking go after your goals, baby. Okay, I hope this was helpful. I hope you got so much out of it. I know, no, that some of you did, because this is something that so many people struggle with, right? Like it comes up for me too, and I have to like step back and look at it when it does, right? Okay, I love you guys. If you are interested in the mastermind, we have 4 spots for the founding members left. That is that's discounted tuition. Hello, Voxer access, so you get like mini mentorship in your pocket and a few other little sick perks. So either DM me mastermind on Instagram or TikTok, or you can just sign up with the link below. Okay, love you. See you in the next episode.